Hey everyone, it's Josh here, and welcome back to the channel Songwriting Solutions. And in today's episode of Songwriter Reacts, we're going to be talking about Time Is Running Out by Muse. So let's get right into it. So one of the reasons that I've picked this song is because I think it's got some really great examples of how you can create a really unsettled feeling with the listener through the use of things like chords and chord progressions, and then on the flip side of that, really kind of like release that tension in effect in a chorus. And I think the way that the chord progressions have been written are, you know, really clever, and also think the general use of hooks within the melodies and also the use of texture throughout the song, you know, to change it up and keep the listener's interest is really brilliant. So there's lots of different things that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So ultimately, I hope you enjoy it. But let's have a listen to the song and get started with the video. So the song starts out with this bass line, which is really quite unusual. Very strange sound on there as well. But what I find really cool about the way that this song kicks off is that you're not really too sure what the chord progression actually is at first. You know, there's kind of like in the bass line, kind of like suggestions of what's going on, but it's not entirely obvious. So this is essentially what the bass line is doing. So that first part of the bass line, that's immediately suggesting an A minor because you've got the first and the minor third of A minor there. But then it goes up to this B, but there's no obvious suggestion of what that chord actually should be yet. And then it does that little chromatic line, and then it goes up to this E, which is just playing an E octave effectively. So it's playing the low E octave and the high E octave there. And then it effectively does power chords on F and G. So the way that that's been written, it really does add to that unsettled feeling because your ears aren't really too sure what it should be latching onto. And there's no real clear chord progression there, and it doesn't really become clear until a little bit later on in this first verse when the little piano lines come in. So this bit here, so that little piano line immediately suggests what the chords actually are, because after the A minor there is a D sharp in there, which immediately suggests that that is a B major. The second chord is a B major. And then there's a G sharp, which suggests that it is an E major for the third chord. And then it's an F major and a G major for the next two. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like playing those chords over the top of the intro. Now, I personally think that chord progression is absolutely awesome, and you can very much see just by playing it there where the whole, you know, Muse is inspired by Radiohead or Muse copy Radiohead, you know, that whole thing comes from, because that is such a Radiohead chord progression where they are in effect borrowing these chords from different progressions. So there's some chords in there that don't really belong. You know, there's some, you know, those two major chords, the B minor and the E major, they don't really belong in, you know, what is effectively the key of A minor here. And, you know, it's just a really unusual thing to do, but it very much adds to that feeling of unsettlement and tension in this song, which I think is really cool. And then we have this build here, So it's using, pretty much all the same chords that we've already heard. So we got an F major there, and then a G, and then an A minor, and then back down to the G. And then it gets pretty much like a full release when it hits this C major. And that's what leads it, into the full chorus. So the thing that I think really kind of seals the deal with this chorus is the way that the vocal melody changes, and it uses different notes of the scale that it's using. So initially, when it's kind of building up to the chorus, it's sticking to a lower melody, and it's sticking to the lower notes of the scale that it's using. So, bury it, I won't let you bury it, I won't let you. And then when we actually hit the full chorus, it does something really cool. And our time is running out, and our time is running out. You can't push it underground, you can't stop it screaming out. And you still got exactly the same chords there, but because the melody has changed, it's really effective and really, really powerful technique in songwriting. I wanted freedom, bound and restricted. I tried to give you up, but I'm addicted. Now that you know I'm trapped, sense of elation. So, I absolutely love this section of the song. So, what's really cool is that they're not really changing much up in terms of musically at this point. The chord progressions are pretty much the same. They've set the tone with the verse, the first verse, and the first chorus, and now they're just kind of changing up how they actually play these different sections of the song. So in this section, they've very much gone back to that bass riff, and you've got the guitar over the top of it. Very common thing that Muse do, where that they have the bass and the guitar playing the same thing, and they've just got massive like distortion on the guitar. And it's just so like rock and roll, so like heavy. And you can also just hear in Matt's voice as well, Matt the singer, songwriter, and also the guitarist and pianist. He just sounds so kind of like aggressive, and there's anger and frustration in his voice in that section as well. It's kind of very much built a lot more on the first verse of the song, and that really kind of like gives this verse a lot more power as well. So in that section there, even though the same thing musically is going on with the previous build towards the first chorus, in this case there is a lot more going on. There's a lot more going on with the drums. They're a lot more busy. Lots of toms in there, and also there's almost like a strange kind of like synth in the background, or it could be a guitar. I'm actually not too sure, to be fair, but it's playing these chords, in the background, and kind of like, they're kind of sustained, and, it kind of like thickens that section up as well. And there's almost something sadder about that section as well. I don't know whether it's the sound of the strings in the background, the fact that it's kind of bringing out the chords a lot more as well, but it just feels almost like more emotional, and And, you know, it's actually quite a, you know, a beautiful part of the song, I personally think. So, this chorus sounds pretty much exactly the same as the first one, but then it does something really awesome here. Just awesome. And, you know, I really do think that is the biggest hook of the song. That, ooh, yeah, yeah. Like, that is the hook of the song. That is the bit that, you know, people remember. And, you know, that is what makes that second chorus so interesting, because, you know, really the chorus up until that point was pretty much the same as the first one. Because when that hits, it's almost a double chorus, and, you know, it just really elevates the song. So there's nothing particularly strange going on harmonically there. It's got a D minor and an A minor. So we're still very much in the key of A minor here. But then it goes up to that E major, which, you know, is heading outside of the chord progression. It's got that G sharp in there, which really pulls you back to that A. So this pretty much just sounds like the intro. And then you've got the nice little piano arpeggios, which are just adding, you know, a little bit extra into this section. It's also shorter as well, a shorter verse. So, you know, he goes straight into that that lyric that kind of points to the chorus, and that just keeps you know, the song interesting, because even though they're not necessarily doing anything different with, you know, the harmony, the chords, the melodies and things like that. Now it's more about structure and arrangement that's keeping the song really interesting, you know, all the way up to, you know, the very last second of it. And then finally you've just got like this almost like explosive outro, which is sticking to an A minor chord. So, you know, that's what's going on in the background. There's, you know, another guitar, there's the bass guitar in the background, and then he's just doing this kind of chromatic riff here. So there's lots of tension in that final part, and, you know, the song almost doesn't even feel like it's finished. Like, you know, it kind of just ends very abruptly, and it's not like it, you know, it nicely kind of like ties it all up, you know, harmonically and you know, musically and things like that. I think that's, you know, what another thing that makes this song so great is the fact that it kind of like makes you want to go back and listen to it again, because, you know, it doesn't feel like, you know, it's kind of like, it's kind of finished. And, you know, I think that's what's so clever about, you know, the way that they've created it, the way that they've put those melodies and those chord progressions together. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for checking it out. And if you have enjoyed it, then please do leave a thumbs up. And if you want to keep updated with the channel and you want to see more videos like this, then also hit the subscribe button as well, as I release new videos every week. And if you're personally looking to get into songwriting yourself and it's something that you would like more help with, then you can go and grab my free ebook from the description below. So this takes you through the 7 steps that you need to take in order to write a great song. Everything from coming up with the idea all the way to finishing your song and everything in between. So if you want to grab that, then you can go and get it for free from the link in the description. But apart from that, I will leave it there and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.